Hello and welcome to Chapter 97 of the DC Alliance podcast. With me, as always, is Clay. Clay, how you doing this evening?
Doing pretty good. I really loved your reaction to walking up to that desk of yours and seeing my new transformation. You know,
I was
uh,
shocked. I was shocked.
I had a little bit of a midlife crisis the other day, and I felt like, you know what, fuck it. And I went to go get my haircut. There was a zero wait time online, so I was like, okay, I'll just go get it cut. I sat down. They legit grabbed a thing in my hair, like in a ball, so that way, like a big like fray of it was kind of just hanging off the end, and they're about to buzz it, and I kind of winced, and I was just like, "All right, do it," and they're like, "You can, you don't have to do this. Like, if you don't want to get it cut, we can not cut your hair." I was like, "Just do it, just do it, just do it, just do it." Like, if once you do it, I can't get up, and
No.
they're like, "Okay," whoop, and they just like chopped it. And I was like, okay, I'm in here for the long run. So it took 45 minutes to cut my hair.
Holy crap. I don't know if I could sit still for that long.
Yeah, it took 45 minutes. I haven't gotten this exact haircut since 2017. So it's been 5 years.
Holy.
And I haven't gotten a haircut since the 2020 uh GV charity stream, when so before the one that I was a part of, the one before that, I put my hair on the line, and like literally the hour before the 24 hours were up, they got their goal. So I shaved my head, and it's been 15 months since I got my last haircut. So
It grew quite a bit in that time, though. Holy crap. When you think
yeah,
about it.
like my hair has always grown really, really fast. But like as soon as I was out, I texted my coworker and I was like, I regret everything. Like
I think it looks really nice, man.
I don't know if I like it. Like it just takes a while for it to get back. So I was just like, it is what it is.
You save a
But
lot in shampoo. That's one.
I know
That's one thing.
that's a good thing, is that I don't have to use as much shampoo. I don't have to use as much products of my wife's. So that's something. And also, just for, I know people in the GUA, like people not in the GUA, but people who are listening to the GUA feed are probably tired of listening to this. But for those who are on the solo feed, I don't know if I even said this last week, but you know, right now my wife is resting. She is, in that first trimester. She's pregnant. I am running around with like a chicken with its head cut off. Well, dude, when people said that, oh, she's gonna have a really strong sense of smell. Holy
Yeah.
crap, dude. And it's to the point where like she is in almost incapable of going inside the kitchen because there is so much to smell in there. So I'm doing all of the cooking right now. Like even soaps, like detergent, dishwashing soap. Like I'm having to do all the laundry and stuff. I am Mr. Mom right now. I may have a
Love that
new
movie. Love that movie.
I may have a new appreciation for Michael Keaton. Um but I'm working it out, and hopefully everything goes well. We plan on everything being semi-normal in the next 9 months as far as like podcasting goes. So, we are hoping and crossing our fingers that my audio engineering career will kind of be at its start, so I'll be home most of the time. That's what I'm working towards. So you know we may be podcasting, and there may be just like a random child in between me and the screen or my microphone in the
I've
future.
seen Scott do it multiple times on the vodka stream.
Yeah, because that was his third. Me being at my first, I don't know, like I'm gonna be like super nervous to even talk really loud and shit. It's
Oh my
it's gonna
god.
be terrifying. But Um, I am ready to go, man. We watched a decent episode of Superman and Lois. I will say this. I will say this. I was excited for this episode. And before we do all that, let's go ahead and jump into the GUA network. Of course, guys, we all know DC Alliance is a part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. What that means is we just have a huge podcast family full of shows, 8 shows, 7 days a week on a weekly and bi-weekly schedule. Of course, that bi-weekly schedule starts off with a slice of film with Katie. She actually made an announcement prior to this recording on Star Wars Alliance. So if you want to learn more about that, I'll let her explain it. Go over there to Star Wars Alliance and listen to all of that. She has great things coming to that show starting in April. And then, of course, on Mondays, it is World's Finest True Believers and Ranger Alliance. Me and Joe just recorded an episode, came out this week, talking about possibly Hasbro making a finale for the entire franchise before it moves on to Netflix. There was a script that leaked that's like 5 or 6 episodes, and it looks like it could possibly be something along the lines of like a final goodbye to the Power Rangers franchise, like from what it once was. I think that's pretty cool. It's all hearsay right now, so it's all rumors. It may not even be that, but the idea of it is really, really cool. We talk about that. We talk comics, and of course, we talk our weekly episodes currently on season 2. And then, of course, a walk through the multiverse. Joe recorded an episode, a review of Uncharted. Still haven't seen it. Still a little nervous to see it. But right now, man, Tom Holland is like the king of the box office.
Can't do no
Still,
rhyme. Can't do no rhyme.
I mean, how different that will be in the next, let's say, a few days, you
Got a
know?
feeling there's going to be a giant bat chunk taken out of his Uncharted money.
So we will, of course, be talking about that on Friday, which does get us to our weekly schedule. DC Alliance on Tuesdays, superhero discussions on Wednesdays, Star Wars Alliance, of course, on Thursdays, and Marvel Alliance on Fridays, with DC going live on Monday and Wednesday, Star Wars Alliance going live on Wednesday, and Marvel Alliance going live on Thursdays. But this week, of course, because of the Batman, they actually are not recording live. They actually are, I think, recording right now. I
Yeah.
think as as we are talking, I almost accidentally jumped into that recording. I was like, "Oh, wait, that's not DC." Even though I know they give us a lot of shit for talking Marvel all the time, but it is what it is. Which reminds me, real quick, I have a lot of things to say this episode, but we got some feedback live on Twitter the other day. Whew. The dude that was talking
Oh,
our
okay. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, well, which one? I was like trying to think what we were talking about, but yeah.
That
Uh,
was it was last week, right? Or like it was before we even recorded our last, or it was after we recorded our
it was
last Superman
after.
and Lois. So it's been, we haven't been live since. We would have been live Monday, but there was just no news this week.
Also, the Batman, folks. I just watched the Batman. Like, I got home like an hour ago from watching it. It's very hard for me to concentrate on. Not only that, Clay, I'm going to take one more divergent tangent. I've read the first 4 issues of Radiant Black,
I
and
saw that.
the fourth issue.
Issue 4. Issue 4.
What?
Yeah,
What?
I said this once you finish
No
once
warning. No warning from you guys. I'm just here going like, hey, I just started Radiant Black. No one's like, watch out for episode 4, Travis. Better watch out. None of that. It was just, oh, awesome. Good job. I
Oh,
go
it's
lock in
it's the
and
greatest thing
bam.
ever. Now, I will say, after issue 10, go listen to a walk through the multiverse with me and Joe
You're
talking
acting
everything
like it's
Radiant
not
Black.
already downloaded.
Well,
It's
the
already
reason
in my
the
queue
reason
once I
why
read
the
the first
reason why
issue.
the reason why one of the first things that I say, well, that's not really the first thing, but we're kind of just going through the motions when talking about that. And I said, it's almost impossible to do this, but Kyle Higgins made me care about somebody in 3 issues. A brand new character.
Yeah.
Just and that issue 4, people, we're not going to spoil it. I didn't
No.
want to spoil it for Hines. That's why I wanted him to be surprised. Go pick up Radiant Black. It's an
I figured
amazing
there would be a
series.
little tease or something from you guys. One of you guys being like, just saying something about the 4th issue. I would never have
No.
expected that. Whole
Yeah.
it's I listeners. I can't wait to finish. I just what I have to
I
say.
am
I've
waiting.
lost
I
the end of
am
scene for it.
waiting. I am waiting for the day that I am hoping a really big budgeted studio is just like, "Hey, Radiant Black, we want you."
I think
That's what we
after
want.
Invincible success, I could really see that happening. I really see it happening,
Yeah, for sure.
especially in that
Um,
animation style.
but of course, we have that review for Batman on Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be a lot of fun. Me and Travis are already planning everything there is to it. We're doing the outline for the review and everything else. We are stoked for this review. We are. I just talked to Katie. She won't be able to make it for that Friday review, but she is going to be watching it Thursday. So she did. She was able to get tickets. She is going to see it, but the individuals that will be joining me and Hines are, of course, Travis Snell, Chris Balga, and Joe. So we will have us 5 all jumping in, talking the Batman at Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure to be subscribed to the Geekverse YouTube channel. Make sure the bell is highlighted and right click and make sure the notifications are on all. So that way you know when we go live anytime here on the YouTube channel. So we are also ad supported and listener supported. We have a Patreon. We are pumping all of that stuff out right now. The top fives of top fives of top fives. The uh what's Joe's show called? I had it in my head and now it
Multiverse Minutes. I was a guest star on his
minutes.
last
Yes.
episode.
Multiverse minutes, of course. And then we also have the Batman 89 comic that me and Snell are reviewing, as well as we can watch this all day with Joe and with Brent and Chris. And then I am actually editing a review from Katie with the Canon Comics show that she has actually announced that her husband is actually going to be joining her on that. I've been listening to that while I edit. It's a really good episode, guys. So go join our Patreon for $5 to get all of that exclusive content. So let's go ahead and jump into this review of
One
one more
thing.
thing. We're
No,
13 minutes in.
DC, Marvel Alliance, and Star Wars Alliance all have their
All
own
have their
podcast
solo feed.
feeds. Just
Yes.
search if you just want DC content, Marvel content, or Star Wars content. Just search all that. And I just want to make one point: Joe is like Cher for the network. I don't even really know Joe's last name. It's probably even on his Twitter, and I just don't know it. He's like just Joe to me. So it's like Cher. It's just Joe.
Gennaro. That's how you. It's
Yeah, I
Joe
know.
Gennaro.
I
Okay.
know it's there, but it's just Joe to me. So he's kind of like Cher.
Oh, that's great. That is great. So let's go ahead and jump into this review. I was super excited about this because 2 of my fandoms have collided. This episode was directed by Amy Jo Johnson, the original Pink Ranger of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Really, really cool. Several years ago, she became a citizen of Canada. So that is probably why they were just like, hey, we're here in Vancouver. You want to do a show? And she was like, cool, let's do it. So I will say, I really enjoyed the way this episode looked. There was actually, even though I hate the aesthetic of what they did with Bizarro and the Doomsday costume, there's a scene here where they're at the farm. There's like red and orange skies. Really love that shot. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it. Now, when I was saying we saw a decent episode, it wasn't the greatest. And
No.
there's some things that we definitely have to say about this episode. Story wise, how it's really progressing. And I will say, for the third week in a row, Kyle, Lana, Sarah, I don't care about their story.
I will say that for you, at the very least, they got rid of Captain Douchebag,
Hopefully,
and then it seems
hopefully,
like they're positioning someone else to come in and be take his role of prime douchebag, and that is the general that we did not see
yes.
coming. You could never have saw that coming a mile
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I have a criticism about a scene involving him, or well, involving his story that we'll get into too. But uh, I also am shocked that after the crazy events that happened last week, we don't. Chrissy's never even seen in this episode.
Nope. Not at all.
Just mentioned that they need to do more research, but we don't see her, which is shocking after that last episode.
And I will say it bothered me a little bit because this was a filler episode
Yeah.
without being a filler episode.
No, it had some story elements there, but it wasn't enough to be a great episode. It
Yeah.
fell more into the filler category. Like there's stuff that you don't hate, and if you look back like I do when I finished this episode and thought like this wasn't as good as the last few, I think to myself then, okay, just think about the first 5 episodes of Flash season 8 that you watched this year, and then think about Titans season 3, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, I won't be nearly as harsh on this. Like it's not as bad as great episodes of those shows. So, like I have some issues with it, but like you said, I think there's enough in this story that you can debate if it's filler or not. This episode, I think there's
Yeah.
enough story that progresses that you can debate if it's filler or not.
Well, I mean, really, the only big story that we see here that is progressing from a last episode that was heavily story influenced was the stuff with Jordan and John, the stuff with Superman and the lieutenant or the general. Is it lieutenant? I think it's
Yeah,
Lieutenant Anderson.
yeah,
Um,
Lieutenant.
and Lana and her sister. But there isn't really a lot there. They were just really
Lois and her sister.
did I say Lana?
Lana, yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Lois and her sister. And there really wasn't anything there until they got at each other's throats again at the very end. So, yeah, it was filler without being filler. And I want to, because I think this is the biggest problem with me and this particular episode, especially with how it ends and how we got there. So let's go ahead and move to Lieutenant Anderson and Clark.
Yeah.
So the big thing here is that Anderson is actually getting chewed out from his superiors, saying, "Hey, you're putting people's lives at risk, and like people are dead because of you. Like you need to get your shit together." Basically,
Also,
is what his commanding officer told him.
Also, we had Sam Lane in your position for years, and we had no incidents with Superman, aka what they refer to him as United States Best Defense System. That's what
Yeah.
that's what they call him. They say we had no issues with Sam Lane, and with you, we're now at the worst communication level we've ever been with him. And I'm
Hmm.
like, that's 100% fact, but I don't think he would like you referring to him as United States number one defense system.
Oh well, but see, the problem is and we talked about this in the very beginning of this season. They make it sound, and even last season, they make it seem that Superman should think of America first. Because, oh, you're homegrown, you're American, like you grew up here. Like they know that much because of the interview of Lois Lane all
Yeah,
those years back. Like
that's the same thing here. Yeah,
they know that much. It's still very secretive because of course you're getting a little too close to the territory of, secret identities and everything. But, you know, it is what it is. Now, they go to the funeral of the individuals that died
I
in
really
the
like
two
this, Clay.
The funeral scene I enjoyed.
Yes.
Now, the only nitpick that I have is that one of the parents of the superpowered soldiers knew about the monster, or maybe it was just a generic, like, hey, who was the monster that killed my daughter? You know, like just giving whatever entity a
Yeah.
title called
Yeah.
monster, not necessarily knowing that it was a superpowered being that did so. So there was that, but it was raw and I enjoyed it. Then there's a conversation between Superman and the Lieutenant Anderson, and he's like, "You need to give me this pendant because we need to destroy it." And they're like, "Well, you need to let us know where this monster is. Like, are you talking to him? Are you in contact with him? Why are you hiding him? What's going on?" And of course, Superman's not giving up anything because clearly you can't trust him. Understandable.
Yeah.
Then we get this scene. I can't remember exactly what happened. Oh, what ends up happening at the funeral scene, Superman hears something going on across the freaking planet and he flies off. And Lieutenant Anderson is like, private or whatever. She tells his right hand, you need to find out where he's going. Cool. He goes to Russia and he's saving this village from an avalanche. For one, worst CGI we have seen on this episode.
Yeah. Especially the merger of CGI and real actors. I thought that was absolutely
Oh, dude,
garbage.
when
Absolutely
when it panned
garbage.
it panned over to the civilians the first time, it legit looked like everybody was slanted because the green screen didn't match up.
And we saw just a couple episodes ago when he saved the sub, that looked a hell of a lot better,
Phenomenal.
and you could see the difference, like just even the real people, like just the difference in them interacting with CGI. This was not a good scene, Clay, and it doesn't even go to the CGI part. We got this, like I just talked about, with the sub, and we got the Anderson state having issues and saying to Superman, "About America's first." We got this whole thing. He said, "I'm to the world." Superman said that, like, "I pledge to the world, not to the United States." You don't need to show us that again in 2 episodes, but
So, well,
just too
not only
short of a
that,
time.
no, not only that. So, he goes off to his go back. Clark goes back to the family, and then Lana calls him. He goes and he meets up with Lana. Then we see Lieutenant Anderson, and they get the answer. Where was he? Oh, he was in Russia. He helped these people from an avalanche. And Anderson is like, why doesn't he tell me these things? Why does tell me, Travis, you being in Canada, completely different from American government here, does your government tell civilians when there is an avalanche in any part of the country of any other part of the world?
Not really, no, not our government. You might see it on Fox News if it or CNN if it happened in the United States, but no Canadian broadcasting thing would say, unless it's this outrageous like world event. But
Exactly.
no.
Unless it was like, hey, this is something that's going to kill millions of people, it shouldn't be that important to any part of the country or any part of the world, to be completely honest. Now, Lieutenant Anderson is acting as though this news of an avalanche he could have prevented or something. Like, it's like, why didn't Superman tell me about this avalanche? Like,
I
what is
think he's
going on?
more offended. Like, I don't know if they did it correctly because I got a lot of that too, Clay. Like, why do you have to know that he's going to stop Avalanche? I think they're trying to make it like, why are you going to Russia, one of America's enemies? Because the other place with the sub was North Korea.
Yes.
So I think that that's kind of what they're pushing, but they're not. I understood it more with the
But
Korean sub than I did with this.
again, natural disasters.
Yeah,
The dude has fucking blinders on. He is not seeing, like, it's not like it would be completely different. And also, I want to be very sensitive with the way I'm going to say this due to the current events of what's going on right now. I am totally in tune with how bad that is on the other side of the world. I understand that.
Don't get DCA canceled.
But what I'm saying, it's not like Superman is going to Russia and then saying, "Hey, who do I kill?" Or, "Hey, can I serve your country in any type of way?" And then like purposely, because here's the thing, Superman is the type of person to, if something bad was going to happen to Vladimir Putin, Superman would prevent that
Yeah.
because he is that kind of person. But the US government sees that as Superman is public enemy number one. He saved Putin. What do we do now? Like, it's
100%.
so stupid.
But I really feel like that's how it would be. Maybe not right now, but if you rewind it 2 years ago, I
Yeah.
really feel like that's possible how it could be, and it would be on the news and that. I know that it's it's silly when you think about it, especially Anderson's whole thought process here. It's not like Superman goes over and saves Russia and then comes out wearing the Red Sun Superman suit. Like he's still Superman. Like
Yeah.
but it's not just Anderson either, because of what I found really weird about his superiors saying about uh, United States defense system, number one defense system. So clearly, I want to know, one thing I want to know, what was Sam Lane telling these people for the last 10 to 20 years? Like, was he making up
See,
lies? Was he saying
I
that
don't I
Superman
don't
was
think he
100%
was.
America
No,
first?
I don't think he was. I think it's the very ignorant American government
There
is
is a
just like,
perception of Superman too. Like you get it in like the Dark Knight Returns, of Superman being the symbol of United States. Like he
oh yeah, no,
backs
no,
up
no,
the
no.
government. So
Yeah, like there is very much a, even in comics, because he is, Clark Kent lives in America, he's going to most likely, asterisks, save more people and prevent more incidents within a certain radius of where he currently is, which is America.
yeah,
So because of that, people were like, "Oh, he's an American hero."
yeah,
No, he's a world hero
world
because of
hero.
how big he is and how strong he is, and I mean how godly like he is.
Yeah, it's not like
But
Batman
again,
can save somebody in China, save somebody in Russia. It take him about 6 hours to fly over in a jet, whereas
but
Superman got there in 5 seconds.
exactly. But it's the perception that America is like, "Oh, he's in America. He stopped these terrorists, so he must be an American soldier.
Yeah.
He is our defense system." Cool.
The perception of Superman is what Homelander looks like. With the, like, flag as his
Yeah,
cape.
yeah.
That's what I mean? That's what Anderson wants Superman. You can tell Anderson just wants Superman just to pick him up and fly him around and be best friends, and he's just so pissed off. I want a best friend like Superman. You can tell that's what he wants, but he's gonna act like the privileged white guy that when I don't get my way, I'm going to do something, kick, stop, and do something about it, something
So
childish.
so let's finish this Anderson story before we go on to our
One
first
other.
and only ad break here. And the story is, oh, well, he calls his superior and says, "Hey, I know what I have to do to get this other monster that you've been wanting, but I need your permission to do so." And then it cuts to a different scene. And then at the very end, we see Superman, Lieutenant Anderson, and a whole bunch of soldiers going down this hallway. And then red sun lamps just kick on. It weakens Superman. And then there's a huge outbrawl, which mirrors the exact scene in the very beginning with Bizarro.
Yeah.
Now, I have a problem with this. And the only problem that I have with this is red sun radiation takes time to depower Superman. Unless And again, I don't like to make assumptions with things because then it's just like, why couldn't you just say it, right? But in my mind, the only way he could have weakened to the point of actually getting hurt by these individuals punching him in the face and stuff, and him not actually doing any damage when he punches them, is if it was like concentrated red sunlight radiation.
I have an answer for you here now too, because remember in last season, what was Lane having to do that he didn't want to do, which was come
He
up with
was
deterrents for Superman.
yeah
But he kept them off the books and away from
yeah
the top people. He's not there anymore. So
hmm
I think that they just used his information to do that because I know Lois was pissed off, but it would be irresponsible for Lane to not come up with some plans to incapacitate Superman just in case he became evil some way. Like
yeah
that would be irresponsible as the general of the United States Army, we'll call him. I don't know exactly what his title is. But if those plans are there, like you said, now if I think you'd be okay, Clay, right? If this next episode, Sam Lane tells about all the things they have there to stop Superman and explains one of them as concentrated red solar energy, you'd be like, okay, yeah, I understand why you didn't say it because it makes sense to have Sam Lane say it because he's the one that invented the stuff and had it
yes
and it gives more
yes
impact. But if they don't say it, I'll agree with you. If they don't say anything about it, I'll have some issues about this. Like I want Sam Lane to have like be the reason some of this equipment that they use to take down Superman exists.
yeah yeah.
Yeah. Because
Now
Lando's Brig comes in the first season, which would be like just good to pick that stuff up.
Yeah. Now the other there's three storylines that we have to really go through, and I think two of them can be summed up later.
Yeah.
But let's jump to the Jonathan football ex Kryptonite stuff right after this break. And we are back. So, ex Kryptonite, Jordan is like super excited that his brother is having powers, talking about how like, dude, like we can be fraternal twins, dude. We're
Fraternals.
like, yeah, it was weird, but he was super excited. He's like, oh, is your breath like minty fresh? Like, and he like freaking froze the freaking wall. I'm like, the dialogue's a little cringy, but I get it. He's excited
He's
for his older
excited.
brother, or for technically they're twins, I think.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, he's excited
so
to have somebody go through this journey with him because he
exactly.
feels pretty
And
isolated
he's
before.
like, oh, be careful with your heat vision, be careful with your strength. Like he basically, it's so funny because he acts as though he has a control over his own powers, but
Yeah.
I still don't think Jordan has full control
Not,
over his own powers.
no, not at all. Not at
Ex-
all. I think the most control we saw was him actually using the heat vision against Superman's brother in this season, but that was
Yeah,
he didn't have it very long, and it wasn't strong, and he was just swatted away like a fly. So he managed to
exactly.
use it. Managed to use it.
Yeah. So we know that it's all ex kryptonite, it's all a lie, and he gets a call from his coach, and he learns that he is going to be starting quarterback. And he's starting to get nervous. He's like, I don't know about this. His parents are, super excited for him. All of this to say, he finally gets to game night. And Clark walks right up to him. And he's like, are you excited? Like, what's going on? Are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm just a little nervous. This was a lot, to handle. He's like, and Clark was like, you know what? You earned this. You're good. Just do your best and be your
Just
best.
do what got you here.
Yeah, that's what he said. Just do what got you here. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to use the restroom before I go out to the field. And Clark leaves and he uses the inhaler and he siphons some XK. Which I will say this in the very beginning of the episode, Jordan saw the inhaler and he's like,
Yes,
oh, well, it's so and so's
it's
his
my
girlfriend's.
girlfriend's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. She's like, oh, she probably forgot it, and I'm gonna go give it to her. When we're in school. So he uses the XK, and he is playing a phenomenal game, man,
yeah.
phenomenal. Uh, but then At the very end of the game, they win like 45-14 or something like that. It's something crazy. And everybody gets super excited. And Jordan is with Sarah, of course, and another random friend. I don't think it was Natalie.
No,
Um,
we haven't seen Natalie for 2 episodes.
yeah, we
Or
haven't seen
John.
them. Yeah. So this other person is like, "Oh yeah, so and so actually got caught with like some drugs with an inhaler and stuff."
He went to the
And,
hospital. The quarterback that John was going back and forth with last episode that he knew was taking X kryptonite.
yeah,
He ended up in the hospital, and his mother found an inhaler. We find that out at the very end of the episode.
and Jordan is connecting all the dots.
Yeah,
And so he confronts John in the locker room and he's like, "You're using XK, aren't you?" He's like, "Yeah, so what? What of it? Like you're just mad that somebody can be just like you?" He's like, "No, that's not it. I need you to be careful. You're my brother, you know. We are supposed to be fraternals, kind of joking around again." He's like, "No, I'm not having it. Like this is the only way that I'm going to be who I am and it makes me feel good. So I'm going to do it." And they kind of get into a tussle. That's when General Lane comes in, and it's that's basically the end of that story for now.
yeah, 100% Clay. Because they even come back with General Lane and Lois, and they're contrary, but they don't say anything. They just walk into the room, and John doesn't explain why Jordan's mad, and his mother asks, and he just walk. They just walk on into the room. So it's basically like we're paused. That
Hmm.
they put that on pause for us.
Yeah, and then the other two stories, honestly, are uh
Lana
Lois,
and
Lo-
no, Lois and Lucy. Sorry.
Lois and Lucy, which, like I said, doesn't really go anywhere in the
I
beginning.
can sum that up in 30 seconds. General Lane brings Lucy to see Lois. They kind of have a little bit of a sparring match, but then stop for General Lane. Lucy meets Lois's two kids and hits it off with them, talking about football, all the routes and all that. They have a great day. They have a great night going to the football game, and then they bring up Allie Austin. Everything goes to shit, and Lois and Lucy leaves, and then Sam Lane comes, and he's very understanding, and is like, yeah, it's my fault too. So that's basically everything that happened in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She she knows a lot about football. Like that whole scene, dude, right over my head. I'm not a football guy.
Oh, I knew
So
everything. I was
she
impressed. I
so
was impressed.
she was saying so many terms and I was just like, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Uh like I'm sorry, I'm just not a football guy.
Clay's like
But I know
football.
I was like, sports ball, yeah. Um, but I knew there's got to be some fans that really enjoyed that she
Yeah,
knew everything, that she was being able to connect with them, and that was one of the big things that Lois enjoyed as well. Was
yeah.
like,
It
oh
was
look,
nice to see.
they have their aunt back. Was really what she was trying to say. Um, but the other story, Lana, Kyle, I just don't care, man. Like, he's a douchebag. I know it. Like, he's a horrible human being. And for one, this is just the Spaniard in me. This is just the Mexican in me. But like Lana not pronouncing quinceanera right was, oh, it bothered me so much. I was like, just don't say it if you can't say it correctly. Um,
Have the young girl say it instead.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
But like I don't know what they want us to feel about Kyle because I don't care. Like
I'm
cuz
gonna be
there's
honest with you,
there's
Clay. You're right there because I thought that they were making him out to seem to be a good guy, and he learned his ways, even with this whole cheating scandal. It first seemed like they were positioning him to be a good guy, and then Lana asked the lady that he cheated with, the bartender, when did he stop this relationship, and she said right when their daughter
well
had
she
an
said
accident.
maybe about 2 years ago, and that's when Lana was like, "Oh, so right after Sarah's accident." Well, she's like uh and then that's what, yeah, she said right after Sarah's accident. And that's when the lady was like, oh yeah, around that time, as though Kyle had talked to her about his own children. And
Yeah.
I think that was a barrier that Lana was like, nope. Like that is, you are taking something that is personal and taking it to other people. And that is not okay.
She also asks him, like, she mentions to him if he even would have stopped, because it seems to me that she got the feeling that he stopped the relationship because of what happened with their daughter's accident, not because he loved Lana and felt bad or loved their
Mhm.
family and felt bad. More like he felt guilty because of he was doing this, and then their
Oh,
daughter,
because the accident,
yeah,
quote unquote, we have learned is she was in a very dark place and attempted suicide.
yeah,
And so you're right. I think it was the guilt of like, oh well, you know,
I'm not
I
here.
I don't want to
I'm like,
lose time with my family or with my daughters, so we can't do this anymore. It was it was an obligation.
yeah.
It wasn't a commitment, it was an obligation. And she was like, "Yeah, no, not dealing with that." And so she
Honestly,
went to
Clay, I
Kyle.
yeah, I
Well,
just want to say
go
one
ahead.
thing. I was just want to say one thing. Every time I saw something bad happening to Kyle this episode, I instantly thought Clay is smiling.
Dude, it's just like
He
well,
got
for
he got a punchable face. He got a punchable face. It's just
yes, he
some
does.
people got faces, and he's trying to be sincere and saying I love you and all that. And all I can think is just punch him, Lana. Just punch
Dude,
him.
when he freaking got to his knees
Yeah,
and turned that picture and he was like, "Oh, look, even this guy here just knew you were the one, baby."
cringe,
I was like, just
cringe.
kick him in the face, dude. Just that's
Yeah.
all you need to do. Knock some teeth out of him. Like, and at the very end, what does he say? He's like, they're basically, Lana is just winding up for the final goodbye. It
She
basically,
gives him the haymaker goodbye of
yeah,
he's
and
like, "I
he's
love you," and she's like, "Well, that's I don't feel that way," essentially, and
exactly,
walks off, and he's all
exactly,
cry face, and I'm
and
just like,
and she goes, you have to move out. You can get all the stuff that is yours, but you need to make sure that my car's not in the driveway. And I'm like, God damn, good for Lana. I
yeah.
don't want to see this guy ever again, but I feel that there has got to be some weird redemption story for him, and I don't want it
Maybe
because
he turns into a villain, like, maybe he's, like,
well,
taking control of.
there was the conversation between Lana and Clark. And this was just two best friends really needing each other. And so Lana asked, if this was Lois and Lois did that, what would you do? And he's like, oh, it depends. And she's like, on what? And he says, on the circumstances. Why did she do this? Why did she feel the need to do this? And Lana assumed that he was like going to say, "Oh, it really depends on your kids, right?" He's like, "No, like the kids are the kids. Like, yes, they're a big part of our world, but Lois is the one that I'm in the relationship with, not my kids." Uh, and that's really strong.
Yeah.
Um, for me, my parents divorced like way before I could even remember anything. So I've always lived with divorced parents. Watching this is like a really weird kind of out of body experience because Abby experienced her parents divorcing while she was in high school, while I've kind of known it my entire life. And so we've been able to go back and forth and like, okay, well, how did that experience affect you as a teenager compared to me thinking that kind of life is kind of normal, you know?
Yeah.
And Lana is she is acting the right way. She doesn't she doesn't know where her life is going to be, in the next few days because of this huge secret that her husband was keeping. And I thought it was really interesting the way they approached it, especially with Clark still being the Boy Scout, the hey, I'm not going to give you any definitive answer. So that way and not to like guard his own back. It's not like to protect him. It's genuinely like, hey, I'm not going to sway you any other way because in the end, it's your decision. In the end, you have to figure this out because it's not me, you
That
know?
is 100% right. Also, she take immediately after hearing his advice, she gets the idea in her head and goes to see the bartender, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing because she would not have known that he cut off the relationship
Yeah.
right after Sarah's accident. So that's the stuff that I actually did it because if she wouldn't have talked to Clark, maybe she would have just forgiven him and then wouldn't have known that. And you can
Hmm.
tell immediately when she finds out that fact, that's it. She's like,
Yep.
I can't. I don't know if you got back together with me because of her accident, because you love me, because you love the family, because you felt guilty. Like that's all in her thing. And I don't have any experience of that. So it's nice to hear your side of like how you actually get like it's kind of relatable in a sense.
Yeah, it's just very interesting because it's divorce is a messy thing. It can be a very simple thing, but overall, like it really depends on how you look at it, to be completely honest. It could be the smartest thing that that couple can do because of how destructive the relationship is, or it can be a very heartbreaking thing because just like Lana and Kyle, Lana was blindsided, you
Yeah.
know? So seeing an outward perspective of it and seeing it kind of just unfold, I'm like, okay. Now, of course, yes, things are dramatized because it's a TV show,
Yeah.
but they're taking just like Lois and Superman and Lois have done in the past, is they're taking a very relatable subject matter and throwing it into this universe and handling it very well.
Yeah, they did that last season with Lois and her losing Natalie. And that
Hmm.
experience, I've lived that experience, and very
Yeah, it's
similar
rough.
stuff. So it's I was shocked at how well. I think that's part of the reason why I love the first season so much was how good they got that whole story arc. I think Clay. Besides that, everything we talked about, the only main thing that I really think we need to mention is when talking with Bizarro in Superman's brother's fortress with his mother. They find out that not only do we see Bizarro come to this Earth, how he goes into the puts on the suit and goes into the mine and comes out the other side, but we also find out that the pendant when the self from the mirror side and the self from our Earth merge together, they'll become an all powerful being. That's essentially what Ali Alston's trying to do and wants to do.
Hmm.
Right now, Lieutenant Anderson has dependent. Superman wanted to destroy it. That's what his mother told him was the only way to stop it from happening. If I was going to bet any money, it would be that Ali Alston's getting ready to do the ceremony or the ritual to ascend, and Anderson snakes it from her and becomes the god-like villain at the end of the season. Could be wrong, but I am interested
I
to
don't
see
know.
how that's going to look. Interested to see how that's going to look.
I still kind of want to jump on the bandwagon of Chris Bauga's theory of Anderson becoming a cyborg Superman.
Ooh, that would be really cool. That I
I
don't think
just
that's a
because
hard.
just I
That's
think
a
there's a
cool.
lot of like jealousy with
Oh,
Anderson.
100%, 100%.
Like, oh, you have all this power. Why can't we have that power? You know, type of deal.
Oh yeah, if he was in Superman's position, he'd be Captain America.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he
Or
would
well, sorry,
be.
U.S. Patriot, U.S. Patriot.
I
Sorry.
was gonna say I think he
Yeah.
would be more John Walker than he
Yeah.
would be Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very interesting. I think I said this last episode. There hasn't really been anything with the pendant as far as canon wise for me to really be like, oh, this is how they're gonna do things. So I'm still waiting to see how everything plays out. Um, but like we said, this is a filler episode without being a filler episode. It was still
Yeah.
enjoyable in the sense of like I sat through it and I watched it. So it's not well, it's not freaking uh legends yet,
Yeah, or
and
Arrow season 4 or something where it started out in the started out in the episode, and by the time you got to the end of the episode, you did an immediate the characters did an immediate 180 and got back to the exact same point, not learning any lesson, and they
exactly.
still being butting heads, and I'm like, okay, what did I just watch? So it
But
wasn't that, but
I am interested in there's some moments here at the I don't know if you watched the preview for next week or
not
whatever.
yet, not yet.
Okay. There's some things that are interesting because there's a moment where we see John ugly cry is kind of he doesn't look great as an ugly crier, but Lois is yelling at him saying, "John, don't lie to me." So what did I say in the last episode? I said, I think he'll be able to lie to Clark, but I don't think he's going to be able to lie to Lois.
You nailed it because of
So,
the bond that we were showing the first season, like
mhm,
especially that whole thing about we're the not powered ones, and that whole
mhm.
speech to him. Yeah, you're 100% right there, Clay,
I,
and
I,
I
I,
can't wait
I'm,
for that scene. I can't wait
I'm,
for that
I'm
scene.
gonna be very interested to see how his story develops with this drug abuse, which is entirely what it is.
And Superman's going to end up, but at the end of the episode, he's all chained up and getting brought to the same cell that his brother is in.
Yeah, yeah,
That's how we end the episode, listeners, and I'm excited for next week's. Uh, no breaks. I've read no breaks in sight for a little while, so fingers crossed. Maybe we get through the full season now.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully, I think if that's the case, this is episode
7?
98 is Batman. So our next news week, well, no,
No, our
because
next Superman
news
and Lois.
100 will be Superman and Lois. Yep. All
Yeah.
right.
Woohoo!
Next episode, dude. I hope,
Yeah.
see, with it being episode 100, I hope this episode of Superman and Lois is like
If it's trash,
fire.
listeners, if it's, you'll know if it's trash because we'll
We'll
be
have
like
99.5.
or we'll punt this episode the next week. We'll do 2 episodes. We'll do 7 and 8 together. If it's so bad,
To
we're
be
like, yeah,
101.
we can't spend our 100th episode time. Like if this was the Flash, if we watched the Armageddon cry, I would say no, Clay.
Oh man.
Sorry, that's gone. We're not doing it. We're just moving on. The Flash will not be Armageddon will not be our 100th episode, so we would just move
Oh,
on
that
to
would be
something.
great. That would be great. But with that, guys, thank you so much for lasting this long. A little quiet in the chat this time around, but that's all right.
Everybody got
Um,
Batman fever right now. No one's
everybody's
watched the
got
episode
Batman
yet.
fever, and that's all right. That's all right. But of course, you can find me at wait. I always get it mixed up with the camera. So at Fanboy Clay here on Twitter, go to the link tree. You can find the links to all of the shows that I host, that including DC Alliance, Batman News Weekly, Ranger Alliance, and of course Star Wars Alliance. And where can they find you, Heinz?
You can find me on Twitter at Travis_156. You can drop me a line. We can chat about DC anytime. And I also host superhero discussions on GUA Podcast Network. We didn't have a new episode today, actually, because of Batman. I was watching Batman in school. So I reposted the special episode we did on Sunday with Joe for Mask of the Phantasm. Be back next week with Spectacular Spider-Man. But don't worry, listeners. Sometime this month, Young Justice is coming back. I don't know when because HBO Max is not very good at marketing right now. Like I feel bad for Greg Wiseman.
Does it really?
He doesn't. Yeah, it was a trailer shared sometime last month saying it coming back in March. And Greg Wiseman said as much. He said, "I don't know when in March." Just think about it. Showrunner has no idea when the show is going to drop.
That's insane.
Yeah, crazy. And people are writing him all the time. Someone showed him a picture of this random person in background clay and said, I found John Constantine. And when you saw the picture, all I could think was that was nowhere near John Constantine. And Greg Lodge was just like, no, exclamation point. Oh, my.
Oh man. All right. Well, that is it for the show, and we will see you guys this Friday for the Batman. See you
Can't
later.
wait.